Okay. Houston has $57.4 million of cap space. There's if you find 4 different places that put out the amount of cap space the Texans have, you'll get 4 different answers. On this show alone, I've given out 3 different numbers this morning as to what they have.
They're all around there, right? They're all around $57 million.
57's the lowest of the ones we've had so far.
60-something is
60-something, and then there's a graphic I saw earlier that had them with 70-point-something million. So, yeah.
So what we talked about earlier is this, that, okay, a lot of Houston fans will accurately say, well, actually, yes, they have a lot of space, but they've got the most free agents in the league that they have to replace. They've got 30 free agents, 8 of whom played serious play time. They played more than half the games in the season, started more than half the games in the season. So they've got a lot of starters to replace. The thing that you can still be optimistic is that the Texans are in good cap space relative to other teams for the next 3 years. So they're going to be able to spend on, like, let's say, okay, Sheldon Rankins last year had a 1-year deal. They can maybe up it a little bit to where you're getting guys like Sheldon Rankins or Sheldon Rankins Plus on 2 or 3 year deals, I think, and be a little bit more confident doing that, knowing now that, all right, we're in that realm of we're trying to put cherries on top of this thing. We're trying to get it to the point where you're a genuine playoff contender.
Yep. Easier to do these next couple years because CJ Stroud has not gotten paid yet. Yeah. He will get paid at some point.
I think sorry, go ahead.
No. I've got a longer point to make. If you got something you want to toss in there.
Is my point better than your point?
Probably.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
Okay. And this is what we teased into the segment here. So Jonathan Jones is an NFL writer, and he tweeted this over the weekend. The Chiefs are aiming to restructure Patrick Mahomes' contract to lower his cap hit. They've been working on it for a while now. Mahomes is trying to take a Tom Brady-like approach to having a lower cap hit to help bring in and retain other talent. So as a Texans fan, you look at this, you go, okay, someday CJ Stroud will be in the spot that Patrick Mahomes has been in for the last several years. He will be in position, at least, to become the highest-paid player in the sport of football. If he keeps playing the way he did his rookie year, he's got to keep playing well, got to stay healthy, all those things. But he will be one of those 55, 60, hell, by the time CJ signs, probably $65 million a year guys if it keeps going this way and the cap keeps going up. Will CJ Stroud take the same approach? Keep in mind, his agent is David Mulugheta, who negotiated the big, fully guaranteed contract that for Deshaun Watson with Cleveland that no other team wanted to even get close to. It's starting to creep closer to it now, but it's taken 2 years. Here was David Mulugheta on the Pat McAfee show last week, and they brought up the big contract that Mulugheta was able to get for Deshaun Watson.
We were hoping that would be the case. But unfortunately, a couple deals that came in after that didn't kind of fall in line with what we did there. So, hey, we got a couple more quarterbacks, so it's not over yet.
Okay, so that is the conversation. Are you going to continue to push for that, I assume, as you go forward? That is how business is going to be done?
There's a contract in the marketplace that says as such, so that's our plan.
Thank you for changing the game. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Mulugheta.
Okay,
thank you. No, thank you.
The phenomenon they're referring to there is Deshaun Watson, 5 years, fully guaranteed at a market salary.
And Lamar Jackson got close to that, or a lot closer than anybody else has. I think the biggest difference really is that Deshaun is also the closest thing there has been to a premier quarterback in free agency.
Yep.
Kirk Cousins was people don't think of him as having the same upside, but he did get a fully guaranteed contract. Yeah. It just wasn't a marquee one when he was a free agent. So I think Deshaun Watson was, for all intents and purposes, the closest to being an unrestricted free agent as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson was not unrestricted. And it was because he had that tag on him, and that gummed things up a bit. But he still did get pretty close to Deshaun Watson. So I think the big advantage the Texans will have with CJ Stroud is, I don't anticipate any kind of issues that Deshaun Watson had because those were unlike any other issues that any quarterback's ever had.
It's a better run team. Better run team these days, yeah.
Well, no, I'm talking about the actual off-field issues.
I thought you meant him demanding the trade. Gotcha.
No. Yeah, and as far as demanding the trade, that part of it too. So I think they'll probably figure something out. It is related, though, too, when you ask, well, okay, how can the Texans in this power ranking be fifth? Like, what? Okay, these are the teams immediately after them, and some of these same named quarterbacks come up. Immediately after is the Green Bay Packers at sixth. I think right there you can say, like, Jordan Love is very much on a good trajectory, and yet he's got a few more years of age underneath him, if not experience, but like, I don't think people feel as good about Jordan Love, even though they feel pretty good about him.
Yep.
But the Buffalo Bills are seventh. The Buffalo Bills are the opposite of the Texans. Buffalo Bills do not have a guy on his rookie contract. His cap hit, Josh Allen's cap hit, goes from $18.6 million last year to $47 million this year. And it's going to be $40 million plus for the next 5 seasons.
Yeah.
They also have a bunch of free agents that they're not going to be able to retain. So on paper, they look worse already. The Cleveland Browns, first sentence of their blurb at number 8. Deshaun Watson is back, but we're all still trying to figure out if that's a good
And they're
thing.
8th.
Yeah.
They're 8th.
Yeah.
That's how good the defense is.
And then, 9th, the Miami Dolphins, similarly.
Yeah.
What the hell is Tua Tagovailoa?
Yeah.
Is he an MVP candidate, or do I actually hate him? I don't know.
It's interesting because, as you point out, because the Packers at 6 are going to have to figure out Jordan Love's contract situation this offseason. So he's going to be some sort of issue contractually. While he's a good player, issue contractually. You point out Josh Allen, issue contractually. Deshaun Watson, major issue contractually. I'm just going down the list. Tua with the Dolphins at 9. 10, Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow's contract kicks in.
Cowboys at 11 right here has probably got some people up north really, really angry.
That they're 11th?
Yeah.
Well, they've got a cap situation. Dude, they've got to figure. Dak Prescott has a $59 million hit right now, and they got to sign CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons to extensions.
Exactly. They're over the cap right now.
Right.
They're sitting in a position. It's like a Mario Williams plus version where Mario Williams was a good player. And like the Texans just couldn't retain him because they had so many other good players on their team. Where with Micah Parsons is a defensive MVP caliber player, and it's going to be really, really painful to retain him. His agent, by the way, David Mulligan.
That's right. Yeah, you look at the top 14 teams, Seth, and in this power ranking, and the only 2 teams that don't have some sort of issue contractually with their quarterback, whether it's, hey, they're good, but they're super expensive, or we don't know how good they are, but we might have to pay them. Or, in the case of Deshaun Watson, he hadn't been good in 2 years, and he's got the biggest cap hit out of all of them. The only 2 teams that have good situations right now contractually with their quarterbacks, situations that allow them to build around them fluidly, are San Francisco and the Texans. That's it. San Francisco's got Brock Purdy, a 7th-round pick on a rookie deal, and the Texans have CJ Stroud, a 2nd overall pick on a rookie deal.
I guess the only other thing is if you count in the dead money from Garoppolo. Like the total money spent on quarterbacks for San Francisco is still pretty high, I think, relative, but only for 1 more year if they're still paying that dead money.
I'm not sure, but it's crazy. And then you get to the Colts are 14. They got a rookie contract deal. And the Eagles are 15th. I mean, that's a cautionary tale right there. They gave Jalen Hurts the highest contract in football for like 2 weeks, and then Burrow or Herbert or one of them surpassed them. But how are you feeling if you're an Eagles fan right now watching the way Jalen Hurts played the last 8 games this year, and his contract probably hasn't even kicked in yet? He's signed it, but he's probably still relatively, I don't know. But man, dude, those second there are way more cautionary tales with these second contracts.
Yeah.
With quarterbacks right now than there are. I mean, I haven't even gotten down to Kyler Murray, who knows where Arizona is on this list. Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Herbert's,
Kyler Murray,
the Chargers are 20th on here. They paid Justin Herbert.
I think the 49ers are free and clear of Garoppolo. I should have known that. But they still have just so many good, well-paid players that they're currently over the cap right now. They got to do a little bit of maneuvering. It would be impossible without Brock Purdy.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
So like Brock Purdy has to get to the point where he's worth that money. It can't be one of those like, well, all right, yeah, might as well pay him next year because. Yeah. Like he absolutely has to be worth that contract.
Dude, Jacksonville at 21, and they've got to figure out if they're going to pay Trevor Lawrence or not. Like he's at the same stage, chronologically at least, that Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts were at last year.
I think Trevor Lawrence is that he's gonna suffer by being too nice of a guy. I think they'll be able to guilt him into taking one for the team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe if he comes in, if he cuts that hair of his, this is a weird one. He needs to cut his hair to look a little bit more like a rebel. Long hair does not make that guy look one dude metal, man.
It doesn't.
That makes him look like a little fancy prince.
It does.
He cut that hair so you can look like later stage James Hetfield or something.
I think he'd look even goofier with the short hair. That face.
No, long faces. It's better with short hair.
Oh, is it?
Than long
Okay.
hair. Yeah.
Okay. I have no hair, so I don't know.
Can't you just put one of those fancy Prince hats on him? Like not Prince the musician, but an actual
like
Prince.
A crown?
Those little poofy ones. Yeah. Not a crown. Those poofy hats that the royalty wear.
I know what you mean. Are you? I guess you hear David Mulligetta talking about there's a contract in the marketplace that says that this is what it's supposed to be. Are you concerned at all? I know this is 2 years out that we're even going to have to worry about something like this, but we just played audio from the agent who's going to negotiate this deal someday. Do you get concerned or any agita over the possibility of David Mulligetta and, by proxy, CJ Stroud digging in for a Deshaun-style deal?
No, I don't worry about it just because it's not like every deal that David Mulligetta does ends up being a contentious deal. And I think, like, if you just look at Scott Boras and what his reputation is versus how the Astros negotiations with Jose Altuve have gone. It's ultimately the agent works for the player. CJ has demonstrated, going back to his NIL days, an ability to kind of, I think, see the big picture and understand that first and foremost, like, you're keeping the main thing is performing well as a player and as a team. And then I think that I don't want to paint him out as a saint or anything, even though I totally could. But I do think that CJ very much understands the give and take of everything, and that you got to get a deal that's fair, but at the same time one that you can work with the team to make it as feasible as possible to fill in people around you. I'm not trying to say that he needs to take a Tom Brady style pay cut or anything, but I think he's going to work with them, and I would envision that there might be a lot more negotiating around maybe some of the terms of the contract and everything, more so than the total dollar amount.
I think the biggest difference, this team's going to be good. That Deshaun Texans team, I know that by March of that year, the Deshaun Watson story had changed drastically because of the legal troubles, but purely based on football, because I don't think CJ is going to have those same issues that Deshaun had, purely based on football. This is just a better run football team where he's in line with the coach and the GM.
You know, the one thing that might be an obstacle for the Texans is that I think CJ does a pretty good job of separating the BS from the stuff that matters in football and in life. And I think sometimes as a team, it's actually easier to negotiate a team-friendly deal if a guy is really hung up on being the highest paid, because there's 20 different ways that you can make a guy look like the highest paid player.
Yes.
So you could sign a guy to a $2 billion contract that's actually pretty team friendly.
Yeah.
But if he's a guy that's like just wants to have the biggest contract ever and doesn't actually worry about all the guarantees and everything, that'd be easy. That'd be super, super easy.
That was Mahomes. It felt like Mahomes. Remember Mahomes' first deal his first extension was a 10-year, $500 million deal. I feel like he signed that super team friendly. But I feel like he signed that so he could say, "I'm the first $500 million player." You know,
I think it was I don't know how much it was that. Although you're right, I think he has more ego than we originally thought. But I do think that in his mind, remember, he had just won a Super Bowl. There was no reason for him to anticipate anything except, frankly, what's happened annoyingly since then. I think it's very easy in that moment to be like, look, I got it good here. I know I got it good, and I expect to be awesome forever.
Right.
So what's the big deal? And let's call it $500 million.
$500 million.
And I'll go buy a couple sports teams in the area.
Let's $500 million between. You're right. I'm going to buy some soccer teams.